Okay, one
I
more
missed it.
small thing.
I missed it by a second.
It's
I
fine.
like
It's
clicked
fine.
it. I got nervous. I
Uh,
choked.
Oh, yeah, my heart stopped a little bit.
I
yeah.
whiffed.
All right. So, welcome one and all to the Almost Awesome podcast. It's your host with the most, Pirate Lolo, here on the mic. For those of you who know me, you can call me Mark, but if you don't know me, feel free to call me Mark as well. I got my co-host with me, like every other time. One of my good friends, one of my best friends, one of my brothers. Got Matt on the mic, at Kid Reynolds. I'm doing it. How you doing? How you doing, brother?
I'm doing great, man. I'm doing great. I'm glad we are back at it again with another good podcast. Lucky number 13 this time.
Of course, of course. For
With,
some people,
another-
Hey.
lucky.
Yeah. But we got our basically brother from another mother.
So this guy we've known pretty much before we were born, technically speaking, because
Yeah,
our
technically.
parents,
Mm.
our parents were friends with his parents. So
Way back then, yeah.
So we already had the connection pre existence.
Yeah.
But we've known this guy for a long time. Good friend of ours, Cody. How are you doing today, man?
Good, man. It's good to be here. Something a little bit different for me, but looking forward to talking. I'm always watching you guys' stream and your YouTube channel, so
Loyal
always
viewer.
a bit supporter as well. Hopefully, I'm still on the top charts,
Bit
but
king. I don't know. It
yeah,
it
Bit King.
resets every week or so. I know I've been so inconsistent, but working on it slowly but surely. So I guess to get us really started off, a lot of what we talk about is just kind of like how to talk. Like it seems so common, like common knowledge. It seems so like almost like a redundant question to ask. But if you had to give a tip to somebody about just like being interesting in a conversation, like how do I seem more interesting in a conversation? Like if you had to just give like one tip, like off the top of your head, what do you think that would be? Like if you could give like the best advice, like something that you should, like people should be doing that they don't, kind of thing.
just like a typical like one-on-one conversation kind of thing, like
Yeah.
you're at a dinner or something. I feel like I'm actually a pretty bad communicator when it comes to that kind of stuff, so I probably don't take my advice on this kind of thing too often. But I've read in books and just heard from other people. It's just kind of just ask the other person. I think generally, for the most part, people like to talk about themselves. So if you don't really know how to start a conversation, ask things that are a little bit more, like form your sentences in more open-ended ways. So instead of saying like, "How was your day?" you can say, actually no, that's a good way.
But kind of
I-
like don't restrain them to like asking like specific things, but just leave it open for them to like kind of explore and
Yeah.
play with, and then you kind of, go with that.
Yeah, pretty much instead of saying like asking a yes or no question, you can kind of form your sentence. I can't think of any examples right now, but change up the way you're asking them so that overall they're just talking more, not only just saying a definite answer of yes or no, but kind of just saying, "Oh, I did this or I did that," and just based off of how they respond, you can just kind of just continue to go off a tangent of thought throughout there.
hmm So it's like, I guess like one example that I thought of was just like, instead of asking like, how are you doing today? Like you kind of get like small answers like, oh, I'm doing okay. Oh, things are kind of stressful. But like something simple to just open up is like, oh, what'd you end up doing today? Like before this, like if,
Exactly.
I guess the way I'm thinking, the context would be like on a date. Just like, oh, what'd you end up doing today, or like, what'd you do? Like, how was your week? You do anything fun?
Yeah, it's actually pretty interesting. That's like in our last podcast, that was something our Ryan talked about. It was like you keep it open ended, but you also focus the question. So then, like, how are you doing versus what did you do before this changes the conversation a little bit more. Because like, how are you doing is so broad, and then it's like, how was your dinner, or what are you doing this weekend? They like focus them. It's interesting because like sometimes if you give someone too much space, they don't know what to talk about at all.
It's a weird balance,
like,
right?
I don't know what this guy really wants to hear. But then you like focus it a little bit, it gives them some content.
Yeah, because I feel like after watching, especially Ryan's and then also Kyle's little podcast episodes, I feel like, especially like Matt, when we're talking with Anton, like just in the mornings or whenever we're playing, I feel like I'm actually starting to ask, well, maybe I was already doing that kind of stuff, but just asking how was your weekend, or like what you guys did, stuff like that. So I feel like I'm actually picking up stuff from what you guys have been saying, and trying to translate that into the real world.
That's awesome. And really great to hear, because I like to tie it all together. I would say, like, I feel like what we wanted to do, this is like a new consistent thing we're trying to introduce in the podcast, is like see how other people start conversations, or keep up with people, or just like what are their best practices, what are their tips, and then two things is like learn from each other, but also like realize that we all kind of, it's interesting. It's like everyone says we kind of suck at it, but everyone's pretty good at it actually. And all the tips are usually pretty consistent. But it's I feel like that's kind of like the mold we're trying to break, and then we're doing it through this podcast. So that's definitely something new we're introducing, is like starting the podcast with like that thematic type of question, and then actually getting into having a conversation with you as our guest. So it's like learning and then execution.
We just gotta put it to practice, and we'll see if we put it to practice.
Because like even on top of that, right? I was telling Karen about some of the more recent episodes, and I feel like both of us are both pretty introverted. And most of the time, we don't really have too many friends here in Tampa, so we'll usually just hang out on our own, and we're completely fine with that. But I feel like there is, me especially, I feel like I want to just also hang out with other people. I still do that every now and then. Like some of my coworkers will just play board games and have a couple of beers after work, but it's definitely not something that's very often. And I'm definitely not the person that even initiates that kind of stuff. So I was just kind of telling her, like, there's nothing wrong with just reaching out to people, kind of being that initiator person. Because I feel like that's probably the thing that's holding people back, is no one really wants to initiate, but everyone probably would accept if you made the offer.
That's so funny. I was definitely thinking about that today, where it's just like a lot of people have, I know it happens to me sometimes, where it's just like, man, I wish I would have been invited to this. I wish I would have been invited to this. But then I'm like, when was the last time I invited someone to do something? And so like, if I'm not going to invite people, why are people going to invite me? Like, at least show that you're willing to invite them to do things.
Yeah.
But it's like, another point that was interesting is just like, I feel like, I heard it from another podcast, but humans have like an innate need for community, like to find like a place of belonging, or just like be with other people, be with other like-minded people, and like support each other. Like if you go back to like before like modern civilization, like where like there are like individual tribes of people, the reason they grouped up together is in order to survive. So like that kind of like passed on through generations, where like even now, like when we're like separated through like technology, like it kind of seems like we're distant,
separating ourselves.
We still kind of yearn for like a sense of like being part of a group kind of thing.
I think that's pretty important, right? Because like I don't know. Somehow I'm starting to watch like a lot of like prison themed TV shows on Netflix. And like the biggest thing that people hate in those kind of shows, whether it's like more realistic or not, people hate to be in like the solitary confinement kind of stuff, is because, as much as you may hate other people in your area, you still kind of thrive for some kind of human interaction.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the thing, both of it's like completely right. It literally is built into our instincts. Like we're trained to want to be in a community because we thrive that way.
Yeah.
But then I also think there's a balance between the need for community and like functioning on your own.
Mm-hmm.
And it becomes really interesting that there's some people that can't function on their own at all.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some people that like don't need a community at all. And I feel like you can never be on too far on the spectrum of either one.
Yeah.
But it is cool. I mean, it's interesting. When back to like initiating conversation. When was the last time you initiated a conversation or like an invite or something like that?
I honestly I can't think of it, because like typically on a day-to-day basis, it's me going to work, me kind of just putting on my headphones and doing my own thing.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time people don't bother me because I'm kind of doing my own projects, and I don't really have a lot of people that I work on besides email communication.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like the most communication I had with my coworkers is when I came back from the Philippines and Taiwan, just because like I brought snacks for them.
Oh,
so
nice.
like I kept them at my desk because there's not really any other place to have it.
Mhm.
But that kind of sparked up conversation, whether it's like conversation that people wanted to have, or it's a conversation I feel obligated to make just because I had snacks. Either way, it was something that, just overall I got to talk to some of my coworkers that I didn't really, I wouldn't have talked with them before.
Yeah. Snacks always works. It's like
Snacks
a tried
work.
and true method. Even if it's not foreign snacks, you bring donuts and you'll start a conversation with
food, man.
somebody.
Yeah.
Those are the things. Food and community. It's the things that we strive for.
Hmm.
Put them together.
Yeah.
What about you, Mark? Since our last podcast, have you initiated any
I was gonna actually.
conversations, any
Sorry, I fix this.
invites, things like that?
It was funny. So, actually no. I've actually haven't. Like where it's easy to talk about like doing this and like trying to be more social and stuff like that. Like I also see myself as like very very introverted and like pretty shy about stuff. Like it's weird to say it because I know people who know me, they see me as like pretty outgoing, like I'm talker, like I'm pretty friendly, but like going out of my comfort zone, like I don't like it. I'm completely different.
Yeah.
Very quiet, like I prefer to be like on my own or like more in a more comfortable situation. So if I can avoid something uncomfortable, then I try to avoid it. So we recently had my nephew's birthday party here at the house, and like it was a bunch of like my brother and his friends and stuff, and like I had remembered that I had to get like some homework done really quick. So like I kind of like dipped out for a while, and then like I was like, okay, let me try to get this homework done really quick while I remember it. And I was like, I could have put it off and just like socialized, but it was just like it was a weird like excuse. I was like, oh, okay, I have a reason to not be in this awkward social situation. Which like it was like I know them. It wasn't like I don't know them, but it was definitely like I realized it afterwards where I was like, man, I literally ran away from like starting like a new conversation and like putting all the stuff that we talked about into practice. And it's like, man, like it made me realize I gotta do this like step by step.
But I think it's also interesting, specifically that scenario. And let me know, because all of us have older brothers or siblings. Kind of different hanging out with a stranger versus your siblings' friends. Because I don't know, do you guys ever feel like they always will see you as the little brother or something like that? or
Yeah.
their brother. I guess both of us have, or like Mark,
Oh yeah.
you as the older brother for me, or
Mhm.
see you as the younger brother for Mike. Do you guys ever get that? Like, even 20 years later, that onus is still kind of like there.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like for the most part, like, well, my brother and Angela and the kids, they always have like small little birthday parties and things like that. So, I would always go to those, and it's besides the family that are there, it's gonna be a lot of their friends.
Mm.
So like, I know a good amount of them, like just on a acquaintance basis, but um, I don't know. I feel like it's just hard to get myself into that mode of interacting with them. Uh, just more than just like, oh, how was your day, or like, how's the food, or
Yeah,
small stuff like that. I don't really know how to expound on that kind of stuff.
like dive right into like the
Yeah.
content,
Mhm.
Yeah,
the
right.
things that make us. Yeah,
Like, how do you get to
It's,
the juicy part of the conversation, as opposed to just like, here's just like the usual small talk chit chat stuff.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But it's tough. Like it's tough to like kind of dive right in and like poke into like. Tell me about like the life that you're living. Are you living life?
hmm Yeah,
Like, it's just
people
like.
probably don't expect that either.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like if someone asked me that, I would answer them, but I would kind of just be a little surprised before I answer them. But as we were talking, actually, I think this week, I kind of made small strides towards like talking with people, and it's definitely not anything huge, and they weren't like any lifetime experiences or anything like that. But Karen and I went to like this small night market kind of thing, and we were ordering food, and I ended up just kind of talking to the person that was prepping all the food. So like, kind of just got to know a little bit more about her, and like how she works 2 different jobs, and she just does this catering as like a side business and stuff like that. So just more so just about, instead of just saying like, oh, thanks for the food, or something like that, just kind of, people just want to talk, and I think it just helps get, especially for them, right? Sometimes their days can be monotonous. Sometimes, I mean, everyone's days are. So I think, to kind of just break that cycle, just kind of ask people a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. But then you have to take that risk, right? Sometimes it's just like people are just like, no, I don't want to talk,
Yeah.
right? But like honestly, like you never know until you ask, right? So sometimes if you're feeling it, take the risk. What do you have to lose? I mean, they
I
might.
think that's where the value of how are you doing is super valuable, because that's like you dipping your toes in the water.
Mhm.
And then if they're just like, good, well, then I like, sometimes people don't want to talk, and it's fair. And you kind of have to read those feelings too. And then sometimes, yeah, you do have to take a risk and just break them from the monotonous, like, here's your change, or
Yeah.
anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
Gonna
For
break
sure.
the cycle.
hmm So, Cody, you mentioned, so you recently came back from vacation. Where did you go? How long were you gone for? All of that stuff.
Yeah. So this is like my second time going out of the country. First time I went uh, last year. I went to Thailand for one of my cousin's weddings, but this is like my first time actually visiting the Philippines as well as Taiwan. So I spent about 2.5 weeks overall time off. But yeah, the first week I spent in the Philippines, and then the second week I spent in Taiwan. Um, it was pretty eye-opening, I guess. Like, I didn't know really what to expect going into the Philippines, but it was especially just like it was such a huge shock for me, just because I I know what people have told me, but I just didn't really expect the level of some of the poverty levels. I would say, like, it's really tough. Like, just coming out of the airport, like, my mom picked me up, and we she had like a taxi driver that she became friends with, and yeah, he was kind of just taking us around for the first half of the day. So my mom was just kind of asking him like, what's a cool place to eat? So we went to some pretty well known like lechon place, and right when we get out of the door, there's this mom with like a really young kid trying to
No.
take some trying to ask us for some money. So
Mhm.
it's really tough because I think halfway through the trip, one of my uncles was telling me like, you're not actually supposed to be giving them any kind of money or helping them out, because I think there's already some sort of support system for people like that. I think you actually could get fined or
Oh wow.
Wow,
I didn't
some sort
know
of
that.
thing.
serious.
Yeah, but I feel like I don't know.
They probably don't
Enforce
engage
it too much, right?
enforce it,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think that was one of the more eye-opening things. I feel like the line between the nice places and the
Yeah.
impoverished places, it's literally like you cross the street
Yeah.
and then you're like, holy crap. Like what happened?
Yeah, because I landed in Cebu, and that was my first experience of the Philippines. So I would just it's super city-like, which still even that I'm not expecting, just like the sheer amount of people and the sheer amount of cars and things like that. Just very busy, and even the driving is just the driving is crazy there.
Oh man, it's nuts.
But just like seeing some of the kids, like I guess the time we came out of the airport and we were heading to our hotel, just like the age of the kids, or just like how small they looked and how young, just like walking on their own, crossing the streets and stuff like that. I don't know, it's different because like
Mhm.
I see my nieces and I just can't imagine them doing the same thing of just like walking
Out on the
around and
streets.
out on the streets, so it's it was crazy. So like that
On a
was kind of
more
the first half of
Yeah.
the Philippines trip.
on like a more positive note, I mean,
Yeah.
you have a lot of family there, right? So did you have like cousins there that you hadn't met before, or maybe you did when you were younger, that are like your age at all?
Yeah, so that was kind of just more talking about like when I first landed there and
Mhm.
getting acquainted to the hotel, because we actually moved around a couple of different hotels throughout the trip. So we
Okay.
spent like a day in Cebu, and then we went to San Carlos City, which is where my mom was staying at. So she actually took like this 2.5 hour, or maybe like a 2 hour fast cat boat ride to come over there
Oh,
and pick
dang.
me up. I would be completely lost. Karen and I would just completely lost getting around. But she picked us up, and then we stayed at the hotel for one night, and then we went to San Carlos, which is in like the Negros Occidental.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm so horrible with like all the different areas and stuff like that.
Nah,
but
man, you're good. It's all good.
yeah, I
You
got
could
to
say
meet.
anything, and I'd probably. Oh yeah, that's a place.
Oh,
I've
yeah.
been there.
Because it probably is. But yeah, like I got to meet the first person I got to meet when I was in San Carlos was like my grandma, which I've never met ever.
Oh, nice.
We always like every now and then we would talk on like FaceTime or whatever,
Mhm.
but most of the time it's just like that really basic talking, just like
Oh, hi.
Bella,
How are you?
how are you?
Like,
I'm good, because like
how's
I don't know what to
school?
say. Yeah, because like there's definitely like that language barrier as well. So
Mhm.
so my mom was, once I got to finally meet her, I think because it was a surprise, because it was my Lola's 88th birthday. So like it was gonna be that Saturday where it was gonna be like this whole birthday party, but I got to meet her a couple of days before that, just in her own little apartment. So like I kind of just like I looked at her and she immediately knew that it was me and stuff like that. So
That's cool.
yeah, I put a big smile to her face, and she got to meet Karen as well.
Nice.
And we just it doesn't seem like much, like what I was doing there, because I was just for the most part just watching her eat or just having her lay down, but just like being there and meeting someone so important to my parents was, it was a cool experience.
For sure.
And then like after that, yeah, I got to meet a lot of my cousins on my mom's side, so that was really cool too. It was a pretty small trip, like a short trip in overall. The half of it that I went to the Philippines, but I look forward to going there again one day. But I feel like I only got to meet my cousins for one dinner, so like not even a full day or anything like that. So
Dang. Was it for like your Lola's actual birthday party dinner?
well, yeah, well, I got to meet a lot of my cousins on my mom's side as well during that birthday party. So we spent more time than just that during that time. So that was cool. We got to talk pretty much all evening and another day afterwards. But yeah, just in general, just meeting a lot of people. It's
Do you
hard to
remember all of
keep
them?
up. I think I do. I mean, a lot of them tried to add me on Facebook, and at the time I didn't know who they were exactly.
Before.
Yeah, before they would add me. But yeah, now it's like I can finally put a name to a face, and it just it makes so much more sense now that I can. It was cool because like even in preparation for the trip, I was connecting with my mom more than I usually do. I was just kind of asking her more about just all of her family and stuff like that. So I got to share some close moments like that.
Nice.
So
Like you actually got to see the family tree a little bit more, like her description of it, what like who's close, who's not, what's going on.
Yeah,
That's cool.
yeah, all that kind of stuff. So, and it was really cool. Just we had a huge group for one of the dinners, and it was cool. I mean, I was definitely stepping out of my circle to make that initial conversation kind of thing, because I think everyone was kind of nervous meeting new people. So I feel like since I was a visitor, I feel like I had to start that conversation. So
It's a good move.
yeah, some people about my age, some a little bit older, and some younger. But I think my general conversation starter, which is not even a good one, I would just say, "How old are you?"
Yeah, nice.
So like it's like, oh, and then from that, somehow I would just kind of formulate what else to talk to about it. So I would kind of just go on about like what do you like to do, and one of the cousins that I met, he was saying like, oh, I like to play basketball, or he liked to play basketball on the PS4 or something like that, some kind of
like 2K?
2K.
Yeah, NBA 2K. So I was like, oh, that's awesome. Like, I used to play NBA Street Volume 2. And, like, we shared a couple of moments there just saying, like, how much I used to love that game and how I got all my basketball moves like that. So, yeah, it's cool. Just like, just kind of overall just stepping out of my circle to meet my cousins, because everyone's kind of a little bit shy, so I had to just take that step.
Because it's like, honestly, like I feel like it's almost like meeting a stranger, because like you have no idea who they really are. Honestly, you're just like, it's kind of just like, oh yeah, they're family. But then honestly, it's like, other than that, like I don't know anything about you. You probably don't know anything about me, other than like weird like anecdotes of stories of like this cousin and this person. But like just finally like you being able to meet them, I feel like it's got to be like super. Like I said, it's almost just like meeting a stranger, and the only tie you have is just the family bloodline kind of thing.
But I feel like it's even harder to meet cousins that you've never met before, because with the stranger you don't really care how the
view you
outcome happens. But when you're meeting a cousin, you want to have like a good
impression kind of thing.
Overall outcome, a good impression. So you're like especially trying hard and sometimes you trying hard kind of counteracts you as well too. So I think yeah.
I think the other thing that's interesting that like it didn't really hit me until later on is when we went to the Philippines was like I think also the language barrier is huge
Oh yeah.
because it's interesting because like the most of them can speak English pretty well,
Hmm.
but then the ones that can't speak English super well, I even noticed were a little bit more reserved,
Hmm.
and it seemed more like they weren't reserved, but they didn't know how to talk to me.
Yeah.
So then like once I realized that, I was like, oh man. So I should be the one that like does the initiating, and then
Mhm.
like I tried to pull a little bit more there, which became really interesting.
Yeah. And I feel like generally, like if you involve alcohol, that usually helps. I remember like
Always.
Red horse.
Anton was
Red
actually
horse?
saying, Anton was saying like a long
Sandig?
time ago. He was like visiting the Philippines, and he like maybe he was like meeting his cousins for the first time, or maybe just kind of meeting up with them after a long time of not seeing each other. But he was saying that it was kind of slow at the beginning of the trip, but like by the end of it, they were just like drinking a lot. Yeah, he said he got drunk, drunk and went to strip clubs. So like,
That's a way to do it.
yeah, that's a good way to help, just to wet everyone's whistle.
That's what we did. Mark, you want to talk about the time when we went to the club
I don't
in the
want to talk.
Philippines?
I don't want to talk about it because I don't really remember too much. Was it the one where we went with Alexa and Brendan?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Where did we go to a club? I thought it was like
Yeah.
I
Oh, we
felt
went
like it
to
was.
a club.
Did we really? I don't remember
Yeah.
that. I remember we went to like a bar that was kind of like a club ish. I remember when Brendan bought like the bottle of Jack.
Yeah. That was crazy.
And I was
He pulled
like-
out a bottle of Jack.
I was
I'm
like-
dang, you guys have that
I
here?
was like, you can just order that.
Brendan?
Yeah, we have a cousin named Brendan.
Oh, not
Not on-
Brendan.
No, not yeah,
Different.
different guy.
Gotcha.
Oh, so man, yeah, that club was funny. We got pretty drunk, but it definitely united us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was cool because our cousin played video games, so he like plays PUBG.
Mm,
Like that was the game that he was playing a ton of. And we
yeah.
were like into that still.
Mm-hmm.
So that was our glue. That and a lot of beer
And drinking, man.
and drinking.
Yeah.
It's-
That's always like that's everywhere, right? So having some kind of alcohol or video games, it's a pretty easy way to connect with people similar
Mhm.
ages.
I was when we when we were at the club, I just wanted to tell the story.
Uh-oh.
We were at the club and I was trying to hit on this girl and I didn't really know how to communicate to her, so I kept calling her Indai. And I was like, I don't know if I'm supposed to do this. I don't know if that means we're family or if that's just a way of like saying like, yo girl. But I kept calling her that.
Did it work?
I mean, I thought it was working. And then everyone was like, yo Matt, we're gonna go. I'm like, man, I'm about to sleep.
Oh man.
And then I was like, should I have called her that? And then our cousin was like, what is she, your maid? No, we just called her your name. I'm like, oh, damn. So maybe it wasn't working.
But if she was still sitting in the general area, I think that it had some effect.
That's true.
Yeah,
I
you
like to
never
think
know.
of it that way too.
Yeah.
We were dancing, so I think it was fine.
Okay.
I think it was fine.
That helps set the scene. I was imagining you guys were just sitting.
I thought you were just talking to her, and then she's just in the area. Oi, Indai! Oh man.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like it's so cool. I mean, it's interesting because it's just like, for me, when we were there, I felt like, man, there's like another timeline where we grow up in the Philippines versus us like growing up in the United States.
Yeah.
I feel like that could like change the game.
Completely different, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think about that a lot. Yeah.
So-
Yeah, and then oh god, yeah.
Go ahead. I was gonna ask
Oh,
you.
that
That is
what
not always a maid. Sorry.
Hey. often with these links.
Oh my gosh, that's relevant.
So what
That's
else do you
good to
do in the Philippines? Anything? Any fun ventures other than just like hanging with family, eating all the time? The typical.
Honestly, not. I feel like my goal going there was to experience the Philippines like in a more wholesome way. Um, not even just explore the Philippines, just kind of more so. I really just want to meet family. That's probably the number one goal. So I think I achieved that, and
How's it going, everybody? Hopefully you're enjoying the podcast so far. We did run into some technical difficulties while recording this podcast, so that's why I'm here to tell you to sit tight, don't go anywhere, and we'll be back in just a little bit. Okay. So we're back. Hopefully the technical difficulties have been resolved. Worst case, I haven't checked it yet. I probably should have checked it during the break. But worst case, if part one of this conversation is totally botched, then unfortunately, Cody, you're going to have to come on the show again. Oh darn. As long as you don't mind.
I don't mind.
Regardless, if we talk about the same things again, cool. Maybe we don't have to. We'll talk about new stuff. But getting back into what we were talking about, we left off on your recent vacation. You're in the Philippines, talking about the experience of like meeting like your family on your mom's side, and like just the whole experience of visiting the Philippines. This was like your second time, right? Or you
First
said second
time.
time out of the country, but
Yeah.
first time in the
Not
Philippines.
including the Bahamas, which I don't know if that counts or not, but I'd say it doesn't count. So yeah,
Yeah,
Thailand.
I would say it does count.
Then Philippines and Taiwan is the second time. So yeah, I think from what I remember, I don't really know what we were talking about, but I think Mark, you were talking about something before we kind of started to have those issues. Do you kind of remember what you were starting to allude to?
If I'm trying to backtrack as to like what we were talking about.
Language barrier, learning Cebuano,
It's probably that, something about language barrier.
Bisaya, all that. That's the last thing I remember.
Yeah, I don't remember what else. I remember mentioning like I know, like picturing yourself in someone else's shoes, like being able, like it almost creates like a sense of comfortable state where it's just like you're struggling to speak like their native language and they can see that. It's very appreciative, like in their perspective, like when like they may be uncomfortable speaking English, but seeing that you're trying to put the effort, like they know you may not know Cebuano very well, but you're trying to do it. It can kind of like ease things up, and like they're like, okay, let me try to like help communicate, like even with little English I know, because with their Cebuano they don't know shit. You like you know, like you may sound like it can almost make you feel like kind of foolish, but I think it makes like a world of difference, like that you're trying, right? Like it helps create something more comfortable, that you're willing to throw yourself out there and like even like embarrass yourself just like trying to struggle to communicate. Like it kind of makes it easier for them to be like, oh, okay, I can kind of see like where he's coming from and stuff like that. So it does help like the conversation, you know?
Yeah.
Like just getting to know them better.
When I did say certain phrases, they would, no matter what I said, they'd just be like, everyone collectively would be like, so impressed, you know? So like, and that goes for both places, right? When I was in the Philippines, anything I said in Cebuano or Bisaya, they were all just impressed. And then when I went to Taiwan, and I spoke with some of Karen's aunts and some of her cousins as well. You know, even less. You know, I know a lot less of Mandarin than I do in Bisaya, but still, like, I was practicing a lot of the phrases in preparation to going to Taiwan. So I did have some things ready in the chamber to say. So you know, I think it you know, even if you botch it, you know, it's still good to see that, like, oh, this person's trying to you know, they're trying to get into this, understand like maybe more of our culture, by learning the language and stuff like that. So overall, it's no matter how good or bad, it's still a step forward.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think of it like when someone doesn't speak English that well,
Hmm.
and like are just trying to communicate to me with broken English.
Yeah.
It's always like, oh man, they're trying. That's awesome.
Hmm.
How can I help them in any way possible?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like it's like
Yeah.
like I said, like it's like they're throwing themselves out there,
Hmm.
like almost like knowing that like, oh, I may not know English, but I'll try to, because I know you only know English. I'm gonna try to use the words I know and hopefully communicate with you. And it's cool, like just like I know that happened to me a lot, like when I worked at Coke, like where they're like
Oh yeah.
a lot, like my best example was like I guess it was like a small interaction. Like I was someone came up to like look at their photos, and I didn't know they were deaf. So they came up, and I was just like, I did the usual spiel, like, oh, do you want to check out your photos, blah blah blah. And then she kind of just like looks at me like with a weird face, and I'm like, at this point I'm like, I don't know what to do. I'm like, oh, do you want to look at like your photos? Like I start like gesturing, like kind of like making it more obvious. And then someone came up that was like with the lady, and she was like, oh, my friend here's deaf. And then I was like, oh, okay. I had to basically like go through her to like, she would like sign to her, and I was like, dang man, now I feel bad for like not being able to like directly communicate, but it's just like, oh.
Yeah, because sometimes that's not your first expectation. Is sometimes you'll just think that they don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I feel like that's a pretty cool experience. I don't think I've ever had to deal with anyone being deaf.
But it's almost like the same. Like as weird as it sounds, it's almost like the same thing. Like it's just like if it's a foreign language and you don't understand it, it's kind of just like, broop, let me just go right over my head like I didn't hear it. You know. But
So, Cody, so you went to the Philippines and Taiwan.
Mm-hmm.
Did you feel more culture shocked in Taiwan versus the Philippines, or
More
Were they-
culture shocked in the Philippines, I'd say.
really?
So yeah, Taiwan is actually very, very developed. Like when I went to Taipei, it's very city-like. So there's just a lot of buildings, a lot of cars, a lot of people. It's I guess I would compare it to like somewhat of like the New York City of Taiwan kind of thing. So skyscrapers, a lot of developed businesses and things like that. So I felt a little bit more acclimated to that kind of environment, but still the language barriers still hit me even harder in Taiwan.
They speak less English there, or like less likely to speak English.
I'd say Taipei is probably like the most popular tourist area, but I think it's still pretty common for people just flat out say Mandarin in the first place. So yeah, I definitely had some trouble. Even going into like stores, just like shopping around with Karen, they would like say something when I come in, and I would like I didn't know what they were saying until after the trip, but they were just saying like hello, welcome, kind of thing.
But it was like a standard, like you
It
can't
was
hear.
a standard thing, and like I didn't know it. I obviously assumed that they meant like hello, hopefully, but yeah, it's just like yeah, I guess I was just making yeah, even if I couldn't speak the language, I was making gestures to say like hello, in every way everyone can understand. So
the beauty of
Does,
body language.
body
Does-
language, yeah.
Does Karen speak Mandarin?
Yeah, so
Oh, that's awesome.
she speaks Mandarin. She also speaks like a little bit of Taiwanese, but all of her family and all the aunts that I met and cousins, they're all pretty fluent in Mandarin. I'm sure they can speak Taiwanese, but they spoke with Karen in Mandarin.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's cool.
So what do you do in Taiwan? Because I mean, I've never been. The only reason I know of Taiwan and like Taipei is I'm not gonna lie, it's because of League of Legends. The team
Oh, yeah,
called
they have, like,
the Taipei Assassins from
Oh,
way back in the day.
are they not a team anymore?
I don't
never.
know. I'm
I
not
don't think
100.
they are, but they won the season 2 world championship. I think.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Season
it was
two.
like super
Yeah.
early on.
Big upset.
Dang.
No one expected them.
Yeah,
Like what are like
Okay.
some of the highlights of like the trip?
I'd say it was pretty chill. Like one of Karen's aunts, she took us pretty much like a lot of the places. Just like a lot of food. It was literally just a lot of food. A lot of like just general shopping. There was so many different like buildings of just all these different little malls and stuff like that. So it's just food, shopping, boba.
Ooh.
I'm sure more stuff will come up as I think of it, but those are probably the main things. It kind of sucks though, because Karen and I developed like some kind of stomach issues
Oof.
halfway along the trip.
Oh my.
Dang,
We
that's
still
rough.
like ate everything, but
Toughed it out.
yeah, we toughed it out. But
Dang.
yeah. Oh, I actually went hiking in
Ooh,
like the mountain area.
that's
Is like
cool.
it was really nice. Super hot. Like
Oh, yeah.
Really?
I
It's
don't
like
do well
summer.
with the heat.
It was summer there.
Oh,
I guess
I'm bad
not.
with seasons too. But yeah, one thing that I noticed that like not a lot of people in America do is they use umbrellas a lot.
Just
they
to
have,
cover
like-
from the heat.
Yeah, just
To
like
cover
daytime sun umbrellas. Yeah, so like when we were on the mountains, I was just using the umbrella pretty much the whole time, or else I would have been burnt to a crisp.
It makes a lot of sense.
It's
Actually.
I would be so hot and so burnt if I didn't have an umbrella.
Dang, that's crazy.
Did they have cool umbrellas, or were they like the same as ours? I asked 'cause, like in Japan, they like the clear umbrellas are like a Japan thing.
Oh, so the umbrellas I was just borrowing from Karen's aunt.
Oh,
So
okay.
they were just like literally just like the basic style, like the mini ones. So like it just extended, but still had like some sort of Taiwanese twist to it, just like with the design and even like the functionality. Like when I initially brought it out because it was starting to rain, and I started to get really wet because I didn't know how to actually extend it. So I just had to extend it harder. I just didn't want to break it.
Yeah.
Especially because it wasn't yours and all that.
Yeah. I think it was the first night that Karen and I landed in Taiwan that like I felt like the hugest of culture shocks. We were at like this we were at like a sushi restaurant, and I don't know what happened, but like at first I was pretty open and feeling pretty confident and stuff like that, but halfway through the dinner I just felt I got like super sweaty, and yeah, I got like the cold sweats, and I was just
Oh damn.
I start to think about, I was like, oh man, I'm getting sweaty, like this isn't looking good, and like I'm just like putting my head down eating because like everyone else is talking in Mandarin, and I don't really know how to contribute. Like, of course, everyone can speak English, but that's not really what they want to speak in. So like, I don't want to interrupt them with English. So I'm kind of just like standing, or like sitting in my corner of the table, sweating and eating, and like I can tell that like they're kind of talking about me.
Oh no.
Which makes it worse. But I mean, like it was all in good fun. I mean,
Yeah.
I remember when I first met Karen's parents, I was like the same way, where I was just like super nervous, and sometimes that's just something they have to go through.
You still made it, man.
Yeah, I
man.
made it.
You still made it.
Yeah.
I hate that. Do you like ever start sweating and then think about, man, I'm starting to sweat, and it triggers more sweat?
Yeah, that was exactly the dinner.
It's the worst.
I had to keep like drying my forehead and everything. with the one single napkin that they had. They have really different napkins in both the Philippines and Taiwan. So
Really?
like imagine like getting a napkin in at like a regular diner or something like that. It's like a pretty big square, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the napkins that I had in the Philippines and Taiwan, they're like a third of that. So they're like super thin, and
Oh dang.
you would need like 3 or 4 to get the same equivalent of like
It's
a
like a paper
napkin.
towel, right? Like we're
Not
just like
like-
the
It's like the size of a paper towel, or maybe like 2/3 of the size, and it's like toilet paper thin.
Oh my. Oh my. I'd be wrecked.
Dang, it's like not designed for sweat. It's like designed
Oh,
for
yeah.
like
It's just everywhere.
Like a small dribble.
A little pilling.
Oh man.
Yeah. I got through it though. I think by the end of the trip, I mean, everyone is having fun, and I was a little bit more relaxed too. So the
That's
problem
good,
is
that's
though,
good story.
the expectation is when next time I come there that I can speak fluent Mandarin.
Ooh man. When's the
That'll
next time
be
you're
the hope.
going? Is it soon
No,
or?
No, I mean we don't have any plans right now. I'm still trying to accumulate some more time off, and definitely plan on going some other places before that. But it's always, if I go to the Philippines, and I also want to go to Taiwan just because it's so close.
It's like right
just
there.
like a
Mhm.
yeah, it's like a 3-hour flight difference. So, yeah, I think over time, it's just one of my new short-term, mid-term goals, just to learn both of these languages and get better at speaking these, and just connect more with both Karen's family and my family.
That's awesome.
Do you have a plan for like learning a new language? Because like there are times where like I'm always like, oh, let me learn like let me try to learn Japanese, so like when I go to Japan,
Yeah.
like I can try to like talk, or even just basic phrases, or like even just learning Pasaya. Like, oh, like I guess like, do you have a plan of attack to learn like Mandarin? Like, are you just gonna get like Rosetta Stone? Or are you gonna
I've been doing podcasts, so Spotify has like, it's not really my preferred way of learning, like the way they were teaching you, but yeah, there's just like lessons like, oh, lesson 1, we're gonna teach you how to say like car and how to say you, and then they start to generate small phrases and stuff like that. But and then like they don't really have that same thing for Bisaya or Cebuano on Spotify, at least that I can find. So I just been doing like YouTube videos. But I feel like I have a weird way of learning languages. I tend to like break down every single sort of like word or syllable, and that's how I kind of figure things out. So like, what's it like? 谢谢 means like thank you, right? Or it means thanks.
Okay.
If you say 不谢, and I might be wrong. I might be completely wrong because
I was
I'm
like,
probably
yeah,
wrong.
we're gonna believe it most likely.
But 不谢 means 不 means no. So if you're trying to say like no thanks, you're literally saying 不 no, and then you're saying 谢 as in like just like the thanks part. So a lot of the lessons that I was like listening to, they would just teach you words like, oh, this is how you say this, and this is how you say that.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of the time there's like a lot of the same base word that you almost have to kind of find for yourself, and that's I don't know, just the way I learn is like, oh, this is the base word. If I change something where I like prefix or suffix something on top of that, that's how I can formulate a different word. So that kind of thing.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I know that's what I like. For when I went to Japan, like I would just try to like pick up on like small phrases. Like I'd get like random apps that would like teach me like phrases, or like even just like common words that I may need to use. Like if like worst case scenario, like if they didn't understand English, like if I could say like just a simple word like, oh, like train station or bathroom or stuff like that, like it could help out a lot.
Oh yeah.
But I was just wondering, I was just curious, like, because I know last week we talked to Ryan, and he was trying to learn Spanish, and just wondering like what you're using to like learn a new language. Because if you got tips for learning Bisaya, let me know, because I need to learn.
Yeah, I can send you some YouTube people, but yeah, I mean, I think I'm open to learning in different ways. I think this is kind of the way that's the most accessible to me, without really having to pay too much money. But even then, right, if you were to look up, like on Google,
Just search it,
best
yeah.
way to learn how to speak Cebuano or best way how to speak Mandarin, there's going to be like so many different suggestions and stuff like that. It's just like an array of stuff. So at least this way, it's just like it's free to me, and most of the time I'll just like put it on while I'm taking my dog out for a walk in the morning, and that's like a good maybe 45 minutes of at least absorbing some sort of information, even if I don't like fully understand what they're saying.
So on that topic, because I know like there are I guess it's like a theory that like if you listen to like trying to learn a language like overnight, where they're telling you like basic like words like car, and then they say it like in Mandarin or whatever.
Yeah.
Do you think that works? Like when you're like I guess the idea is like before you hit that like deep sleep, like your mind is still working, so like it'll like remember and recall it and store that as like memory. Do you think that's an effective way to like learn small words?
It wouldn't hurt, right? You're probably not doing anything else before you're about to go to bed. So I'd say like if it works, even if it doesn't work, there's nothing really bad about you just listening to something as you go into bed. I've definitely tried it where like I'll just put my headphones in before I go to bed and have that playlist going on the whole time. I don't think it made any difference. I think it's a sheer matter of repetition, for me at least, where I can understand a little bit more just after each repetition of the lesson or whatever. I'll get a little bit more understanding.
Yeah, because I think I guess the idea is that like almost like subconsciously, like when like you hear like that word, like your mind will like trigger that like memory of like, oh, I heard this and I know what this means. Where did it come from? I don't know where. But like I think that's I don't know like the full like scope of like the theory behind it. But I was just wondering if you've ever like dabbled in it, because it seems like it seems like it's so effective. Like, oh, I can learn language literally overnight and just listen to this before I go to bed, and I don't have to do anything.
Yeah,
I was wondering if
that sounds a little bit gimmicky. I don't think like you definitely have to put some effort in awake hours where you put some hours into actually learning while you're fully focused on it. But I think there's something. The brain works in very mysterious, crazy ways where it makes weird connections and stuff like that I wouldn't doubt that stuff kind of works.
True. Yeah, I
I'm
can
a
definitely
big believer in it.
Yeah.
I've never done it with languages, like listening to a language overnight. But I do like self-affirmations at night.
Okay.
And I think it's interesting though, because I think you have to do it consistently and you have to do it for a while, and then it's exactly. At first I was like, yeah, it sounds gimmicky, but then I was like, well, it can't hurt, right? There's no way it can have a negative impact on me.
Yeah.
It can either help or do nothing, and I'm already sleeping anyways. If I
exactly.
It's fine.
Yeah.
But
So
it was
self
really
affirmations are like when there's someone just trying to build up your own self-confidence. Is that the kind of thing?
Or anything.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's if you want to think of it like in any sense, right? Like, I will work out today or something, and then like you just keep telling yourself that, and then like the next day you'll have a feeling of working out, something like that. It's like, yeah. But you could do it for anything.
Anything really, yeah.
Anything.
I guess to like give an example, like what's something that you do?
Oh, I have 3. Well, I have one. I have the self-confidence one is one.
It's like, what do you like? Do you just tell yourself, I'm confident?
Is
Like,
it your
I
own
guess like
recording?
like
No. Well, I do two forms. I do there's like a recording, and then I do and what I really do is write it
mhm.
every morning and night is the times that I do it. And I don't just do I blah 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 blah. I put like I put I Matthew Gorian will be confident. And then the next one is I Matthew Gorian will make everything okay. And then the third one is I Matthew Gorian will love myself. Those are like the three. And then to me, it was like the point of it is you have to make sure you like make it you. Like you're the one that's accountable for it. And it's something you will do, not just I am this. It's like I will be doing this or I will be this. So it's like it's twofold. It's like for me the affirmation is more of deciding what the future picture of you, what you want that to look like. And then you paint it more and more and more, and then eventually it just kind of becomes, it's like working backwards is the way I think of it. It becomes reality that way. Then it was pretty interesting. I like actually did it for a month to test it out, and I reread what I wrote every morning, and you can kind of see how my writing changes, or like my outlook kind of changes between like the month beforehand and that month. So,
Like the actual handwriting, or like what you're writing?
no, like what I write about,
Okay.
or like my outlook.
Yeah,
Like
that's
how
what I
it
was gonna
feels.
ask. Like I guess like because for me that's something like brand new. So I don't like I assumed you literally just wrote for a month like those three statements. I Matthew Gordon will be confident. I Matthew Gordon will do that. I like like what I guess like if
See,
you can
well-
give us like more detail.
Well,
if
you
don't
need a
mind.
measurement system, right?
Uh-huh.
And the thing is these things are qualitative, not quantitative.
Mm-hmm.
So my form of measurement system is writing, because I can reread an entry of myself and kind of understand my mindset. So I think what's important is think about the things that can trigger a feeling of like the past for you. So some people, they do it like a video recording of themselves, or some people will do like they'll take a picture, and then what they can do is they can look at the picture and be like, man, at this point in time I started to look better or feel better about the way I looked. But you can compare it between two pictures like in a month apart, and it doesn't look that different. But it's like you kind of notice your posture changes, your chin's up a little bit more, or you're smiling more. And then so what happens is like you need to have your own measurement system, whatever that could be. It's different for everybody, but it's like determining that, and then using that as like your metric. So the way, and then like again, it's hard because you have to look at measurement systems in a sense of what can you look at, and it takes time to like
Find what
get
works for
something
you.
that feels right. Because I think not a lot of people are good at that or naturally look at the world that way. So
Interesting.
yeah.
I guess like where like for people that are just like listening and like who people would be interested in like trying this out, like I guess like could you just like easily just Google that and like figure like different
could.
various
Starting
ways
point.
to like go about.
There's a the thing that got me started on it was there's a book called Tools of the Titans. It's by Tim Ferriss. It was actually a book that Tati gave me. And basically, have you guys heard of the book?
No.
So it's like the guy, what he does is he literally interviews like super successful people, and he asks them like a set of questions like, what's your morning routine like? What are the things you do every day? Like those like kind of questions, so people can understand what the person's lifestyle is. And then the guy that wrote about it was actually the creator of Dilbert, like the comic. He was one of the people that he interviewed, and that was something that he said got him out of a rut. I think like with his comic book writing or something like that, and like he did like an affirmation. He just keeps doing it, and it was exactly like he even, from my memory, he like describes it like, yeah, it doesn't sound like it really works, but then the more you do it, it kind of just helps. And then again, it's like it can't. There's no way it can hurt, right?
Mm-hmm.
Other than you use a focused minute of your day to write something down.
Yeah, you use one minute every day.
Yeah.
But it's
And
like,
to me, it's even just thinking about it helps. Like
Mhm.
thinking in your head, hey, I'm gonna be confident today, or hey, I'm gonna be happier today. And
That's
like
good.
forcing you to do that kind of, it's the same thing with like smiling more. Like we talked about this last podcast. If you force
Yeah.
yourself to smile, you start to feel happy.
Oh,
It's like
yeah,
the same
yeah.
concept. I think it's like just committing to it.
So is that something you do, like you were saying, like right before bed?
Hmm.
Oh, okay. So you
And when I
like,
wake up
in the morning, right?
I do it too.
so do you do like a whole page of your notebook, or like you just write it once of each of
He
the
recommends doing a whole page with one affirmation.
each?
Or like
One
I
page
think he
per
says 10.
whatever.
He does like 10 lines
Hmm.
of one affirmation. I again, it goes back to figuring out what
Your
works
own
for you.
thing. Yeah.
For a while, I did it where I would just write it. Like I did exactly that. I did like 10 entries of the same thing. I was like, yeah, I mean, I can see how this helps too, but I was like, I'm gonna do it my own way. I want to do something that like works for me. But
That's actually really cool.
Interesting.
So like going back to like both of you guys' like birthday, Mother's Day bash last year.
Mm.
Matt, I remember I kept asking you about the notebook that you had in your pocket.
Oh,
Is that the same notebook? That's different.
So I
Oh,
also do. I have a notebook for different purposes.
Mm.
That notebook is a specific notebook where what I do. It's weird. I think interestingly, that notebook is specifically for speeches or
Mm.
things where I think I have to like, if I have to prepare something to say,
Mhm.
I will write any thought in it and I'll categorize it.
Mhm.
So even if it's crazy because I don't know if it's ever happened to you, but there's sometimes you think of a line, and I'm like, man, this would be really good, but I'm never gonna pull it out of my pocket until I'm at a wedding or something,
Mhm.
or I'm like I have to give a toast,
Yeah.
and then it's like, oh man, I should capture this somewhere because my brain is unreliable. And then
Yeah.
when I get to that moment, I'll be ready for it.
You have it, yeah.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
So
Yeah, because
there's
I
like
literally do like I do no writing. Like going back to the self affirmation stuff. Yeah, I've never really got into that, and it could be something I'll definitely consider. I think something similar that I've done in the past, and sometimes I dabble into it again, is like I used to listen to like a lot of motivational videos. Or I not even like I would download them off YouTube and put them onto my old phone,
Nice.
and I would listen to those before sleep. And I feel like the biggest memory of those that I had was like when I was first on the initial job hunt of me getting the job that I'm here in now. Is like I would listen to it every night, and then like I was listening to it on the drive there to my like initial job interview and stuff like that. So yeah, and some of those videos, it even tell yourself to do some kind of self affirmation of like I haven't done it before either, but like they wanted you to like stand in front of a mirror and just say like I love you and things like that. Um it's something very new to me that yeah, something I have to consider getting into. Have you tried that before?
Well, so what I think is really interesting is I think the fact that it feels weird to do that is a testament of how much do you actually love yourself.
Mhm.
Because if you can't do it to a mirror, do you actually feel that way? And it becomes really interesting, right?
Yeah.
Because otherwise, like, if you really did love yourself, I can say that to anyone. Fuck it.
Yeah.
But you're the only one you have to answer to. So
Mhm.
that's how I think about it. But I'm super about. I used to be super about the motivational speeches and all that.
Yeah.
Especially like before a big meeting or before an interview. I was the same
Yeah.
way. I love those. For me, what ended up happening was I felt like it wasn't sustainable,
Mhm.
and then eventually I felt like it had to come from me
yourself,
and not someone I
yeah.
look up to.
Mhm.
Because then I was like, man, I'm always gonna be wanting to be like that guy.
Mhm.
I don't want that. I want to be whoever
An
I define
individual.
myself to be.
Yeah,
So
The
that's
best
like
you
when I
can
started
be.
to make the change.
that's pretty cool.
I think it's
But
good.
Yeah.
did you ever get into a feeling where you felt like it wasn't sustainable? Like I feel like
There was a point where I stopped. Yeah, I mean, I don't really do it too much anymore. I mean, I don't do anything even along the lines of it. But yeah, I feel like at some point I just got used to the words that they were saying.
Mhm.
But yeah, I know what you mean. Where at some point it's not really. You want it to come from yourself rather than someone else.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the time, maybe the reason why I liked it is because in the more recent times that I've done it is just like getting myself to exercise.
Mhm.
So like if I would go on like late night runs in preparation for a marathon or anything like that, I would just listen to this one guy, and he would always just kind of yell when he's doing his motivational speeches. So that would just kind of get me through my run, kind of thing.
Is it the guy that's like he's at the beach?
Yeah,
gonna see-
yeah. Well, he has a lot, but like, yeah, he's like, you
You
know,
don't want it bad.
got his clothes on,
You
and he
need
says,
it.
"Step out into the water."
I love that one.
And he was waist deep. And I'm like, this man's crazy. Not the whole thing, but yeah, like
Yeah,
that was probably the first video that like got me into the whole concept, and then there's just like so much out there, and I think even now on my Spotify, like downloaded stuff on my phone, there's like this just huge like 60-hour playlist of motivational speeches that I'll come back to every now and then.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
Like
Yeah.
I think it helps a lot. Like especially if you can't generate like that motivation to do whatever task you need to do, whether it's like you're taking a huge step or it's just get up and start your day. You know, I think it
Mhm.
definitely helps to like if you can't generate that energy, it helps to get it externally, whether it's from a video, from a podcast, from wherever else. But I think like you guys have said, it definitely like at some point you should be able to generate that energy to do it. Like some days like that, like just like simple example, going to the gym and working out. Some days I don't feel like going, but like if I watch a motivational video, I'm like, God, this guy can fucking do this. Let me go out there and do it. You know, like
Yeah.
like
Mhm.
sometimes you just need an extra push. Sometimes you can do it yourself and like it feels good, but sometimes like you know, shit happens. The world happens. Sometimes you need a little extra push and you need that little external help to just get you started and get you going. But it definitely like learning to not be dependent on an external source to, you know, push you to get you moving in whatever direction
Yeah.
you need to go. It's definitely it takes time, I think, like especially like if you're like not used to that, like if you're just stuck in a rut, it's easy to
Yeah.
get stuck in the rut. But like realizing like, oh, I'm stuck, I need to do something else, what do I do? Like there's a reason you're stuck. Like honestly, maybe you don't know what to do to get out. Like it already took you enough time to figure out how like that you're in the rut, and then you just need that external help. So I think it's good to like almost like get you started. But then like even like what you said, Matt, like where it's just like, you know, I hear like motivational talks from like this guy, someone I look up to, but like honestly I don't want to be them. I'm me. Let me be like let me be me. Let me be the best me that I can be in. Like what works for me? What works for me? What doesn't work for me? And let's figure out how we can get to the pinnacle of me.
That's like to me the huge part about motivational speeches or books, non-fictional books, non-fiction books in general, or like Tools of the Titans, is people will listen to those things and follow them, like just do exactly what they say. And I don't think that's the message they're preaching. The message they're preaching is like, this is how I got there, but you need to figure out what works for you. You also need to figure out what you, to me, it's also like, you got to figure out what you like about this person. Like, what are the qualities that you actually look up to in somebody? And then how do you become more like that? Because again, he's not going to be perfect, or they're not going to be perfect. And then you have to like build it in your own way. I think that's really important.
Yeah.
But I did want to ask one question. So, Mark, I know your thing is like you have like the 5 second rule. That's like in those moments where it's hard. So, like, self affirmation is like the foundational prep work. But when you're in a moment that's hard to get through, you mentioned like you do the 5 second rule. Like, Cody, do you have something like that? Like when you're
Can you
nervous.
explain the 5 second rule?
So basically, if you're like in a tough spot to make a decision, again, I'll just shoot it back. Something simple like going to the gym, waking up and going to the gym. What I do, like, I give myself 5 seconds to decide whether or not I'm gonna go or I'm gonna stay in. In those 5 seconds, like, it's gonna be a definitive answer. After 5 seconds, once it gets to like literally like 7 seconds, my mind will start making excuses. Oh, you shouldn't go. You know, you should use it as a rest day. Oh, you have work to do. You can go later in the afternoon. Like, you'll start thinking of excuses. You'll give yourself time to make excuses to not do something that isn't fun. You know, something that isn't like relaxing and just like
So you're trying to
lounging
decide
around.
before your mind gets into that zone.
Like jump in the pool before thinking, oh, is the pool hot? Is it cold? Do I know how to swim? Once you jump in, then you can figure out, oh, okay, oh, I can't swim. Gotta call for help. But like don't give yourself time to think about an excuse, because if you even like entertain the thought that, oh, I could think of an excuse, your mind's gonna be like, oh, here's one, here's two, here's three, here's a lot of good reasons why you shouldn't do this. But just like, especially if it's something like good for you, like honestly, like again, going to the gym, like that, it's healthy for you. Go before you can come up with an excuse. So that's like the 5 second rule, where it's just like after 5 seconds you're gonna start thinking excuses. It's gonna be very tough at that point to convince yourself, okay, now I have to fight all these excuses and then I'll go do this.
That's pretty interesting. I don't know if I really have anything where I like decide like that. Like going back to your example of like, should I go to the gym or not? Most of the time that's like something I do the night before. Like I'm trying to now go to the gym in the morning. So I set my alarm and I label it gym, and my aim is just to wake up. And that's honestly, that's my biggest problem, is just getting myself to wake up. And if I can wake myself up, and then if I can take like pre-workout, once I take the pre-workout, I know for sure I have to work out. Because the pre-workout does something weird to me that like I know I have to work out, because
it's that caffeine, man. The caffeine hits real quick, and you're just like, you can lie down in bed and with your eyes closed, and you're gonna be wide awake.
Oh, it's weird. Like, I won't get into too many details, but there's some weird feeling. Like some like where I feel like I have to exert it out, but I don't know. Yeah, maybe I'll start to yeah, exactly what Anton said. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. But like, I'm serious about it.
I feel like you break it down to the first step.
Yeah.
The smallest thing you have to do to get it done, which is wake up and get pre-workout. That's cool.
I feel like sleeping for me is always my biggest problem. Is like most of my decisions are like, I can do something, or I can go to sleep, or I can like go back to sleep. So if I can just get myself up, especially in the morning, I don't consider myself like a morning person, but if I can wake up in the morning, I'm the most productive during that time.
That's your time frame.
Yeah, if I can get myself up, you know, that's those are the best times for me. Yeah.
So speaking of waking up early, Cody, there's like one more topic I want to talk about.
Yo, that's smooth. That's smooth.
I was gonna ask. I was like, is there time to touch on
There's
this?
a thing that I feel like you're willing to sacrifice some sleep on. It seems like
Yeah.
Rocket League right now. Dude,
Yeah.
how are you liking the grind? Like that now we're focused on a goal. Like, what are your thoughts on how we've been playing and how we've been like organizing ourselves?
I love the grind. Even if and no matter where we are in the grind, just like grouping up with you guys and just like doing our thing, just something about that. Maybe it goes back to that sense of community or like getting together with people. It's just, I don't know, it's something I find enjoyment in, whether we're doing good or bad. I don't know. I tend to take it pretty easy. I feel like I do. I don't really know. Sometimes I feel like I'm taking it easy upon myself, but sometimes I don't really know myself either, though. Yeah,
I get that.
We've
There's like
talked
days
about
where
it.
it hits you harder, like you as in us, where a bad day feels worse, and there's days where you just shake it off.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've talked about it in like other podcasts where it's just like having that sense of community again, just like where like every like for you guys, the Rocket League team is 3 people. Like all 3 of you are like dedicated towards reaching this goal. You know, like this is the goal. This is how much work it's gonna take, and you're all willing to put in that work. And it's like everyone's working towards the same goal, and you can like feel like everyone like putting in the same amount of effort to get there. Like I know I was talking with Matt before, like where it's just like you can literally feel like they. I know Matt mentioned like when you went on vacation, Matt and Anton were like, all right, this is our time. Like even though Cody's gone, you know, we gotta keep playing. Like just because he's gone doesn't mean we gotta take a break. We gotta keep playing. Like this is our chance to get better. So like if Cody comes back and he's rusty, like we're not gonna like lose games. We're gonna still keep climbing up. So what can we do to just keep progressing? And it's just like that idea of like everyone is willing to put in the time and the effort to reach that same one goal.
Yeah. It's I feel like it's just really that. Like I felt like homesick a little bit when I was on my vacation, just because like I wanted to play and then I just wasn't able to. So I kind of I helped that by just like watching some of the DreamHack Montreal or one of those at the time. So like I was watching that, and that was kind of how I got my fix. But yeah, like this kind of goes with anything really. Is just like bottom line is like if you put the work in to anything, you know, you'll work towards something that's you know, something that a long time ago, bronze, like no way I can get to that level. But you put in the hours, and you have a community of like-minded people that want the same sort of achievements. Eventually, we're gonna get there. Yeah, that's overall just I'd say it's just life advice for anyone going through anything.
Yeah. I guess like in life it's harder to see like the progress. But like obviously like in Rocket League, you know, you have your rankings, so you can clearly see like your progress. You have like the divisions, you have the points, so you can literally see like, oh, you don't have to worry about keeping track of the games win-loss and the ratio and the, you know, figuring out the math there. It's literally like, all right, this is where I'm at. Like this is my rank in, you know, this is my position of the rank, and this is how much I need to go to get to the next place. But
that's why I feel like it's so important to have your own measurements, and that's why I love video games. Is because like the measurement is so empirical. It's just there. It's literally it's unarguable. It's either you're that rank for a reason. I love that, and I think that's like really an important takeaway. Is like you got to figure out what your own measurement system is in things outside of like in just life, which is interesting. And then you can work towards it. You can work together on a goal, whatever you define it to be, and then just figure out how do you measure that.
So
but yeah,
I got a question for you guys for Rocket League. So I know for me, like it got to a point where like I hit a wall where I was like, this is where I am, and the way to get better is to learn like this learn better like ball control, car control. Like there are a lot of like little things that just like improve on these small things, and like you'll climb up. So like when you guys like hit like a wall of like where you're like, dang, you know, the next division, the next rank, the next higher rank is past this wall. How do I get through it? Like, what do you guys do so you're not just like defeated? Because I know it happened. Like, if we relate this back to life, it happens a lot. Like where you hit a wall in life and it's just way too fucking high, and you just feel like for me, like I literally gave up. I was just like, I'm not gonna get better at this, and I know why. It's I don't want to put the time into it, and the fun of it isn't as high compared to like the amount of work and like how serious I'd have to get for it. That's just me. So like, how do you guys like go about like overcoming like if you hit like a wall and just like staying positive and just going above and beyond it? Rocket jumping, double jump boost over that wall.
I think it's two things. I think the first thing that helps us out a ton is we have which is like we want to be grand champ. Like once we set that in stone, it's like no matter what, even if we face this wall, we're gonna keep running our head against it until we break through and get to champ or grand champ. I mean, and each time we're elevating it, right? That's the first thing. It's like you got to make sure you're aligned with the team on the goal. The second thing is like it's exactly what Robodobo said. It's one step backwards, two steps forward. Because what happens is when you face a wall, especially with Rocket League, I feel like it's so relevant in Rocket League. Like you get to the rank you are and you hit a wall because your playstyle is no longer good enough. So it's interesting. You start to learn new techniques. You like learn how to dribble better. You learn how to kick off. Eventually, you learn like new shots, backboard reads, wall clears. But then when you're learning that, you take a step backwards. You like start losing.
You have to
more
try
games
it
a
out,
little
right?
bit.
You have to try like a new mechanic and suffer the loss, but you have to try it to learn how to do it consistently, right? You have to make those mistakes and
then it feels even more frustrating. It gets even harder. It's like, wait a sec, I'm even farther from the wall now. And then the only thing that can push you forward is again having that goal. Because then you're willing to put in the time and realize, wait a second, we're making these mistakes now, but we're gonna learn them. Because you don't learn the things overnight. Even if you train over and over and over and over again, you still can't do it. Like it takes the time to like play it, like execute in games. Like, that's how I feel. I don't know, Cody. What are your thoughts?
I mean, I think you hit it right on the head. I think that's a phrase. But one thing I want to add is like sometimes just a change in literally your perspective, right? So when it comes into Rocket League, right? The most common thing that people do is, I'm not doing good on this car. Let me change this car, and suddenly, all of a sudden, you're like doing things in different mindsets, right? It's statistically, each car is like the same thing, right? It has the same speed and like small minor differences in like how you turn and like sizes and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, it's pretty much the same thing. The only thing that's really changed is the way that you're approaching the same issue. And I don't know, for some reason, while talking to you guys, I like to connect this stuff back to real life. So
no, that's good.
I feel like everything we're talking about here is just, it's always gonna go back to how we, approach any daily life situations. Is just, remaining consistent in your goals of what you want to get to. Pushing forward, maybe taking some steps back if it comes to that. But at the end of the day, sometimes you have to take a different route to get to your goal, but you still need to keep your eyes on the prize.
Yeah, like I feel like it just comes down to how bad do you want it? How much are you willing to suffer to get to that goal? Because you'll find out real quick. Like for me, I didn't want it that bad. Like I feel bad because like I feel bad for like saying no. Like to Neil and Patrick for like them inviting me to play Rocket League, and I'm like, no, I don't really want to. Like, yeah, I do understand. Like, it's fun to play like as a group of 3, but like when our ideas don't align, like it's just like I don't put in the time to get better or to improve, so I'm gonna be stuck here. And when I don't play, it's gonna be even worse because I have to like play a couple games to warm up and then like rekindle it, and then it's like for I guess like I imagine in their shoes that like it's somewhat frustrating where it's just like, oh come on man, like you should be able to hit this. Like I don't think they are like that, but for me like I think about that where I'm like, oh, I don't want to set them back, and then I get into like a bad mindset, and then like I'm literally like just tilting myself, and then and then fun is literally out of the question there. So like at some point I was just like, you know, I'm not gonna play anymore. Like I do miss it. Like it's fun times, but like when like obviously, you know, we're playing ranked. Like everyone, ideally, I guess my mindset is like we're not playing ranked to have fun. You know, like we play ranked to like ideally you want to climb. You're not playing to drop. You know.
Yeah.
So like for me, I'm just like I don't want to put you guys through it, but I also don't want to like put myself through like that mental battle of like, you know, this is fun to play with everybody, but it's a little bit serious because we're trying to climb. You know, like I don't know if that resonates with you guys, where it's just like I get it, like it's fun to play games with your friends, but then like when the main objective, the goal doesn't align, there's a disconnect.
Yeah.
So.
It does, and I think that's why aligning on the goal is the first step, because once you do that, it becomes super easy to say no to things. Which that was a really interesting. I actually feel like I learned that best from, or more recently was reminded that lesson from Rocket League. And like it's like me, Anton, and Cody are playing, and then someone else jumps on and says like, "Hey, do you guys want to play on 2s?" And it became like at first I'd feel bad for being like, dang, should we just do it? And we'd play 2s. And then eventually I got to a point where I was like, no, you know what? I really want to focus on getting better at like the game and doing ranked with these guys. And it became a lot, like the guilt almost went away because I was like, I'm saying no, but it's not just for no reason. I understand why I'm saying no. It's because we have a goal and we're going to reach it. And I want to prioritize that. And I think once you can explain that to yourself or to anyone else, it becomes like it's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've definitely seen that. Like I know that happened to me in League where it got awkward for me because like I realized that like my team wasn't on the same goal as me, where they're like, "Oh, do you want to do like a fun like 4v4 scrim in League against like these guys?" And I was like, "No, not really. I'd rather just do like threes flex and just, you know, work on our rank and work on what we need to do." And then like it got weird and awkward because I straight up said that, and I was like, no, I mean if you guys want to do that, then I'm gonna solo queue and like, you know, I'm gonna work on my mechanics. Like you guys can have fun and do your normal game, but like I'm here to like just keep climbing the ladder, you know. And like for me, like yes, I do see the benefit of like, you know, doing a scrim, practicing a different environment and stuff like that, but for me I was just like, this isn't how I'm going to climb. This isn't how my path is gonna, you know, work out. So for me, it was easy to say, and then I was, like, it definitely got weird. But then I was just like, no, I'm okay with this. I'm okay with this, and I'm okay with them understanding. Like, no, I'm here. I know this is a game, but no, I'm serious.
Yeah, that's like it's a tricky situation when it comes to like when you have your threes group or your fives team like ready to play ranked, and then someone else wants to do something more casual. Even going back to like just in general, just like getting together with people, I feel like it might be a cool idea just to set out some time, like away from your goal, and just have fun in the thing you're doing. Yeah, I mean, I've always tried to do that. Like, if everyone gets on and we have like 6 people on, I would love to try like the water polo stuff. But like, there's like a lot of stuff in setting it up that like I don't want to get, because I would have to do it, and then all that stuff has to happen with you guys as well.
Yeah, I
But,
remember
like-
we tried to do that. It was just so much work. It was just like, you know what? Forget it. We're not doing this.
Hopefully, it gets more standardized. But like, going back to your goal when you were talking about like how Neil and Patrick invite you to play, you know, like there's nothing wrong with the difference in goals, right? Because you know maybe they have a goal if they just want to grind,
Mhm.
and there's nothing wrong with you having a different goal, and it's actually really good that you're being transparent with them that you want a different goal, something completely outside of the game or something completely different in life. So
But spoiler, if they're not watching this, they don't know
Oh.
because I haven't. I've been meeting. I was actually gonna message them and be like, hey guys, you know,
The
learn
transparent
about
part
this.
is lacking.
Learn about this.
well, I'll
But like
actually-
I haven't played with them in a while. Like sometimes they message me and like most times I'm playing something else. I'm just like, okay, well, but it's fine.
Hold
It's
on.
fine. It's fine. I
Is
need
Mark
Hold on.
frozen?
exposed. I think I'm frozen. I think I'm red barred. Can you guys even hear me? Oof.
I love this. When Kyle did this part, I cracked up so much watching the YouTube video.
God damn it.
Oh, you're better now.
Okay.
I love
God
this.
damn it. It's the beauty of a live
This
conversation.
is why
man.
we do it.
That's why we do it live, man. It's the beauty of the
but you're
memes.
just kind of saying like you're just playing other games, right? Is that what you're trying to get across?
Like I'm like playing other games. I'm having more fun playing something else. So I'm just like I'm not gonna play.
That-
But
and
I do
that's-
need to tell him
that's
like, hey,
fine.
you know, like I'm not ignoring you because it's just like I'm like, hey,
Mhm.
fuck you guys.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it's like I just don't feel like playing. You know, it's just like I've even considered like I'm just gonna uninstall because it's just like I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not gonna do that because I don't want to get frozen like that. But
But that's
it,
fine.
it's
right?
just like you know
have
I
your
just
own
don't feel like
thing.
playing anymore. And that's it.
Yeah.
I just didn't. I don't want it that bad.
Sometimes motivations change.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Nothing wrong with that.
I think the transparency part is the key part of it.
Hmm.
Good.
Yeah, I think that's where frustration starts to boil, and no one really knows why. And it's usually because people want different things,
Hmm.
Mhm.
And no one says
and it's
anything.
hard for someone to say no. I think those are the two things.
That's true. That's true.
But
That really goes for like relationships too, right? People want different-
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. Goes
Different
back.
As time
goals
goes
and
on,
no-
people
say the
just right.
Hmm.
Mhm.
But that's why
Anyways,
communication's important. Communication, talking,
Mhm.
getting better at just literally having a conversation.
I got it. Need boost.
Hmm. Hmm. Need boost. You gotta let them know. It's like, where are you at? Where are you at? I gotta get boost. Gotta get boost. Where are you
That's like-
positioned?
That's
I'm
like one of my
midfield.
favorite call outs that we do to each other is like, yo, you're being kind of quiet. That's like the best call
That's good.
out. I love that call out because it's like, damn. I feel like whenever one of us says that to another one, no one's mad. It's literally like, oh shit. I gotta
Yeah.
say where I'm at a lot more because
Mhm.
it's on me. And it's like, oh man, it's cool. It makes it a lot easier to say those things even.
Mhm.
So it's cool. But I know it's
about that time.
9:59. I think it's about that time.
About that time. Well,
Mark, did you
10:59
briefed
our
him,
time.
right?
I did.
We-
I did let him know, and this is a usual segment where we are about to close shop. It is about that time. I do apologize for the technical difficulties. Honestly, I'm kind of busy this week, so I'll try to get this video out probably by the weekend. I know I was a little late with Ryan's video, but that one is up on the YouTubes. If you haven't checked that out, you can just search on YouTube the Almost Awesome Podcast. There's gonna be one. I actually tried searching it today. There's a channel called the Almost Awesome Podcast, but it's about esports. So you'll get that one. It's like 3 years old, but most of our other podcasts, if you just look up Almost Awesome Podcast on YouTube, it's flooded because we got we got 12 episodes, soon to be 13. Hopefully, I can get the first half of this conversation. Unfortunately, if the first half is kind of botched, if depending on where it's kind of botched up, I'll try to edit it and like throw it in. There may be a little bit of disconnect, but we'll work with it. But like usual, thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you all enjoyed it. Thanks for sticking through with all the technical difficulties. Thank you, Cody, for coming on last minute. Also handling the technical difficulties. But as is tradition, I believe I've...
Can I add something, Mark, real quick?
Yeah.
2 things. Follow our Instagram, where I will be posting more stuff. I kind of slacked it. I'm not gonna lie.
What's the Insta?
The Insta is, let me just make sure, AlmostAwesome_IG. We post some of our clips. We post on the story as a reminder. If you want to get notifications, you can get them there when we're gonna go live. Who's gonna be the guest? All that good stuff.
We'll rock it. It's a work in progress. I know, like we've been kind of busy on like just like keeping everything up to date, and it's been an unfortunate couple weeks, but we'll get to a good level where everything's out there for you guys. We'll get things there. I thought I muted all these things.
To you guys.
I thought I muted all these things. I didn't mute it, but thanks,
it's relevant on this one.
Oh yeah.
For those bits.
One more thing. One last question, Cody, before we go into our outro. If you could see someone on our show, is there anyone you'd love to see?
I had an idea at the start of the day that I kind of forgot.
What do you mean? This is the first time we've asked you this question.
Yeah. No. Because I've been watching the episodes, so I know the question you guys ask. It'd be cool to see.
Who's someone you'd be interested? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I always see Ralph on here.
Ooh,
He's always a big supporter, and he has his own little Twitch community as well. So, and Matt, even maybe even before we started this stream, you were talking a little bit about him. So, I don't know him too much. It'd be cool to get to know him a little bit more, I'd say.
Nice.
All right. Okay.
Seems like a stand-up guy.
All right.
Put him on the list.
You heard it here, Ralph.
Yeah.
Get ready. But any other closing remarks before we get sent home?
Cody, thank you so much again for last minute joining our show. It was great having you. Absolutely loved the conversation. But I'm also excited to close it out and get ready for some Rocket League tomorrow morning.
In a couple of hours.
So, with that, I will start the timer. I'll do 3, 2, 1, go, and then you have 1 minute, Cody.
Okay.
Closing statement, and we'll call it a night.
All right.
Again, sorry, another before we end. Before we end, don't forget to follow us here on Twitch. It's at Pyro. I mean, you're already watching. If you're not watching here on Twitch, you're watching on the YouTubes. Don't forget, follow us there. Sub to us on YouTube. So don't forget to hit that bell button and get the notifications whenever a new upload comes up. You can always check us live here on Twitch. That's twitch.tv/PirateLolo. We stream Monday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern time. That's when the podcast will start. That's when the juicy juice happens. So follow us there. You can also hit me up on Twitter. That's at PirateLolo514. If you have like any questions, any guests, anything you'd like to tweet at me, come at me. Come at me at PirateLolo514. And that's about it for me. Cody, are you ready? Are you ready to go?
Count it down, man. I got my own timer.
Send us home. Send us
go.
home.
3, 2, 1, go.
I'll keep it simple. We said a lot throughout this whole podcast, but if you want to take maybe just one thing out of this entire conversation, is step out of your comfort zone. So this week, just try to make one small effort or a big effort, some kind of thing, something like that, where you just do something that you normally wouldn't do. and, evaluate what the overall outcome of that ends up being. Something small might butterfly into something big. You never really know unless you do it. And I think I have 10 more seconds, so I'm gonna finish my beer.
Woo!
Done. Exactly a minute.
All right, we
My
out.
alarm's going off.
Bye.